Hello and welcome to the Tele Esports Series Finland Summer Split 2021 playoffs. Goodness me, we are rolling. We just had a really hot game between PHC and Epic Avalanche with the 2-1 win for Epic Avalanche, but now they're going to have to do it all over again as they come up against Bluewhites. I'm Viper and joined by Rude Dude for this. I pointed the right way. We are set
You're
up for a
doing really
cracker.
well. That's the
Pointed the
best
right
start.
way. I knew the team names. Bro, this is gonna be hype.
It should be. This is a tale of two teams right here. Obviously, Epic Avalanche on their glory run through the lower bracket right now,
Mm.
coming up against Bluewhites, who are a team that have had a very weird season, if I do say so myself, right? They were able to 2-0 our Death Fox, one of our top two teams, took
Mm.
a game against New Ricky, one of our top two teams, but then have lost games throughout the rest of the season, which has led them to be at this point in the bracket. So this is a team that has weirdly a better record against the best teams than the worst teams. So if they beat it through this stage of the bracket, they could the sky really is the limit.
Well, you say that, but they did lose 2-1 to Nuriki in that first
Mm.
game that they played, which is why they find themselves here in the lower bracket. Losing this game send you home with no dinner, no place in Telia Masters, no opportunity to advance. And for Epic Avalanche, they started here. They know the lower bracket well. This is their
Yeah.
domain. They've already taken down two opponents down here. They didn't want to be upper bracket. They just want to know that every single win sends someone home, and they could try and do the same to Bluewhites here. And if they do so, hey, they've got momentum on their side.
They really do, and without a doubt, Blue White's obviously their most formidable opponent thus far. So,
Mm.
relying on those carry forces that we've seen so far, just today at the very least, is going to be something that we're hoping for. I've got my eyes particularly on Carvox. I want to see how well we're able to see how deep that champion pool goes. We've already seen a Gwen counterpick in the Tryndamere. We got to see Renekton counterpick in the Kale. This is something that I wasn't anticipating, that I doubt anybody else will be expecting here, but there's a lot of respect that needs to be put there just initially.
I mean, the Kale pick, I've seen things around this
Mm,
league in this season. The meta doesn't seem to exist in the same way that it does elsewhere. And of course, with me being off casting mainly in the UK and the higher Nordic level, it's gonna be refreshing to see what picks we see get drawn out here. There's a couple of spicy pickups that we maybe haven't seen as much in Finland as we have elsewhere. You talked about the Tryndamere already, but have we seen Tryndamere mid? Have we seen Lane Graves around these parts? Sejuani top, of course, has been making the rounds. So
yeah.
really hopeful to see a couple of spicy ones from these two teams, but of course it's a best of three. So there is a little bit of room to maneuver, a little bit of room to experiment in the earlier games if you're feeling confident.
And confidence is going to be key, right? I always think that if you're going into a series thinking you are the worst team, you've already lost. You need to have that mental edge on your side before you get into a series. So coming out of this game, coming into the first one, hoping and not just sort of hoping that you're the best, but thinking that you're the best as well. Being able to take that confidence, take it through to your first game, take it into the draft, take it into the early game, and really put your pedal to the metal to try and emphasize that you are at that exact point, that you can beat the best, that you can be the best, and that you can go to Telia.
Well, we know Bluewhites can be the best. We've seen it
Mm.
throughout the season. They are capable of beating teams that have performed a little bit better than Epic Avalanche have, because while they're a very decent team, we've seen it through the playoffs so far. Epic Avalanche yet to lose a series, whereas Bluewhites are yet to win a series. Very different circumstances, right? Nariki are a very different beast to teams like Enhanced, teams like PHC, while also pretty talented in their own rights. It's not quite the same as Nariki and Defox, who have completely dominated this league, except for Blue Whites,
Yeah.
apparently. So, there's an opportunity for an upset. Of course, we won't know who the team that wins today is going to be playing against until tomorrow, when we're going to see that winners bracket final between Defox and Nariki, because of course it's between those two teams, really. Have you been watching Finland this season? But let's keep our eyes on the game that we've got in front of us, because I'm excited to see some of these matchups. There's a couple of players who have been around the scene for a very, very long time that I
Yeah.
haven't necessarily cast recently. You look at Bad Pine Desrim from way back in their Sparks esports days when I used to watch these guys. And then you've got players like Turbo Gandalf, Mirza even, who have come from pretty big names across the Nordic region. I want to see if these players can stand up to the test, because it's do or die right now. And the pressure can occasionally get to players that are newer. So some of these more veteran faces are going to have to prove to be leaders on the Rift.
They really are up against a sort of a side that, all told, doesn't have the same storied legacy, I don't think, right? They're not at the same sort of wow, these guys have come from from Sparks, from other big Nordic teams quite like this, but this is their chance to prove themselves, right? To say, hey, you've got this story. We're the rookies, we're the upstarts, we're the up and comers of Finland. To say that, hey, this is our time now. You've had your opportunity. We're going to try and take this game to you.
And it's time to go to Champion Select. We have Epic Avalanche. I saw EA and I was like, what's that stuff? That's Epic Avalanche, the name at the top of your screen. On the blue side, we've got Bluewhites on the red side, and there have been a couple of bans that I've been seeing in the previous series that have been quite interesting. The Ivern is one that really springs to mind. Has been buffed on 11-14, but it's going to be Samira taking off the table first.
Okay, and obviously I saw my first ever game for Square One was Desrim on a Samira, and this guy popped off. So I have absolutely no qualms with the Samira ban. Desrim obviously has performed on this in the past, and Epic Avalanche decided that they don't want to give it over. I think that the Samira ban is a little bit weird, regardless of that, though, because it's a very easy champion to counter. There's a distinct set of compositions where Samira just doesn't work because the enemy team is just too brutal to play against, but regardless, is on the ban table, and we've got a few more mainstays, a few more traditional bans here for 11-14 coming out.
Yeah, the Aurelia and Viego, Aurelia especially on this patch, definitely worth removing. Lee Sin and Ziggs taking away a couple of flexible picks, and the LeBlanc as well, which is something that we've seen make a rise in the mid lane so recently. But you look at like Gwen, I know it was cursed last series, but it's still a really strong pickup that Epic Avalanche might want to try and lock in and see if it works this time around.
They very well might. I think that on the top side of the map, they were revolving very heavily around counter pick, and obviously on blue side, it's not something they can ensure. They lock in the Aphelios, which is something that VL took in game number 1, at least, of their series, just gone. Looked very strong, was the leading carry force for Epic Avalanche, so asserting confidence early on does open you up to be very susceptible. I'd love to see Bluewhites just take Thresh here, pick that up for themselves, deny it away from Turbo Gandalf, deny the safety to Carvox, because typically that's what you want to be pairing the Aphelios with, and with Jinx there as well, suggests a very similar situation. I mean, I don't think they need to force the Lulu this early, because they can still go in third rotation or in second rotation, or rather for Pomo in this R3 pick, and then if they take it there, they can still get Thresh here. I think a bit of a... not what I'd have done, but these guys know what they're doing. So Jinx Lulu is still a very powerful duo.
It's strong, and of course the Lulu could be going into the mid lane, could be going into the top lane. It has flexibility if they want to pick up a strong AD jungler. I know Xin Zhao's lost a little bit of priority recently, but they could go in that direction. But there's the Fresh going in with the Aphelios. They got this really strong bot lane. Bluewhites didn't necessarily need to give it over. Clearly they're confident they can deal with it, because it's not a difficult jigsaw to put together with these two champs. But I am curious to see what Epic Avalanche want to pick alongside this very strong, safe bot lane. They could go for a jungler, something a little bit more aggressive potentially, just to get things rolling. And I don't talk about hovers, but that's a lock-in, and Xin Zhao is the perfect ticket.
Yeah, I mean, we typically see Xin Zhao or Diana, something along those lines here picked up, but opting into Xin Zhao this time round, no harm, no foul there. Bluewhites now have their opportunity to pick their jungler of choice, unless they want to take something that they fear may get banned out. And in the second rotation here, they could also answer with a Blitzcrank, something that we did get to see first rotation or first series round was a support counter pick to the Thresh. Instead, they lock in the Kindred, so buying into this late game.
I've seen some proper disgusting stuff this patch where it's going to sound like a big meme, but hear me out. Finland likes Kale, right? Tarek's just been buffed.
I'm listening.
How, if you've got Kindred, Tarek, Kale, how do any of your champions ever die?
Yeah, well, the answer is very difficultly. With great difficulty, they die. But obviously with pick, with Thresh, there's that chance that you can chain CC somebody down. True. I'm not going to go out on a whim and say that that's the best tool, because your notion of Tarek, Kale, Lulu, Kindred is that you have 3 other champions. If one of them gets hooked, that the other 3 just go, well, I'm good at keeping you alive. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. But as we move into that second round of bans, solo laners obviously going to be the target. We don't think we've got any locked in just yet opportunity for this Lulu to be a top laner for Bad Power. We have seen that a couple times. But you can see GP Fiora, Silas Malphite, very traditional takeaways from respective tops, so not too untoward.
Yeah, and we're just going to see what Bluewhites want to go. There's the Braum confirming it will be a solo lane Lulu. This does make some sense. A decent disengaged champ. I don't think he has the best time into Fresh, which is a little bit interesting. But if the game plan is to keep the AD carries alive, very strong in those later stages. It's just laning things for Bluewhites is set up to be a little bit tricky.
Particularly, I prefer Braum in the bottom lane to the Lulu, just because as Braum getting hooked doesn't have the same difficulties as if Lulu gets hooked. Outside of that, it's still not a great matchup necessarily, but obviously going to be providing a little bit of peel here is sort of the budget thresh in this instance. And now EA, they have their choice of solo lanes. They know that they're going to be up against Lulu for one of them, so that's where they're going to have to be picking to sort of go up against. Imagine that it may well go top lane. I don't know which lane Blue-Whites are going to value counterpick on more by holding their pick there, but it's going to be the Wukong locked in for Carvox, and honestly, both of these solo laners have had to quasi-blind pick here.
Yeah, you've got the Victor in the mid lane, which has a fine time into Lulu. Victor doesn't really want to be interactive when it comes to playing the game in the first 15 minutes. He just wants to lane clear, get that damage, and then two-shot people. Wukong on the top side, very different, does want to be getting involved in the mix. Lulu has a pretty unpleasant time into the monkey. We'll have to see where they're going to send this one and where they want to get that pick mid. It's going to be the Xerath coming through, which means Pomo will be on that big poke once. They're going to be able to probably have the range advantage over Victor a lot of the time. But in the top lane, I'm a little concerned for Bad Pie.
I would be as well. Obviously, the Lulu in the early stages looks to be a bit of a lane bully, but up against it, against a Wukong who once that reaches level 6, has a lot of CC, has a lot of gap close potential to make your life a bit of misery. Definitely could be fearing for how well this Lulu can survive upon that top side. But I really like the Xerath pick just in general. In this mid lane matchup, there's almost no world where Victor gets in range to do anything to Pomo here. So the sort of R5 counter pick has gone well for Blue-Whites. They have taken themselves something that will be enabling them a little bit more in the later stages of the game. Obviously, this is a very team fight oriented composition. Double AD, double support, and then a poke mace just to round you out. Blue-Whites, they've got themselves the tools to get or to have a good, strong late game team fight. The question becomes, do they get there? And have Epic Avalanche got the tools to shut them down early on?
I mean, my question really, going into the later game stages, is do Blue-Whites have an ability to engage? Because they haven't actually drafted any.
They have, really, the answer's no. You're quite right. You say they haven't drafted any. They haven't, right? They're relying on Winter's Bite to pick somebody off, or a Xerath stun from long range to pick somebody who's off over a little bit extended. But what they're going to be doing is just looking to absorb the engage of Epic Avalanche, right? This is a composition with Xin Zhao Wukong that is very happy to be diving into you, to be looking for those fights. And Blue-Whites, to that end, are very happy to be sitting and receiving, right? We acknowledge that they've already picked the Braum as a disengaged support. They've got Lulu in the top side. They've got Lamb's Respite to keep them all alive if that dive comes through. Blue-Whites have got some very good answer tools to the composition that EA have drafted, and it becomes a question of, can EA play to it well enough? Or can Blue-Whites play to their composition well enough, or do EA just run over them regardless?
We're about to find out. We're on to the rift for our first game of the series. Epic Avalanche over on the Blue-Whites confusingly on the red side. We've seen red side have a 100% win rate so far today on the Square One coverage of the Telia Masters Finland. Not Telia Masters Finland, just Telia Finland. We're not Telia Masters just yet.
Whoa.
I'm wishful thinking for these two teams. They both want to be getting there if they can, and Blue-Whites want to be getting into the enemy jungle. They've gone for the 5-man invade. Haven't been spotted yet.
No, they haven't, but there are two people in that pixel brush that they could very quickly run into, and this is an angle that they're not going to be anticipating here, Viperoon.
No, they're not, and I think Carvox and Jonas are in a lot of trouble. Flash coming through already from Xin Zhao, but the stun up on to Carvox means that the Kindred is going to pick up first blood. The monkey goes down, and Blue-Whites quick off the marks.
And this is why you see teams 5-point. There could not be a better example of why you 5-point here, because Blue-Whites just walk in through the top side. This is either very good scouting from Blue-Whites, or they do get very lucky here with the fact that Carvox isn't there. I want to give it to, hey, we recognize that they do this thing in scrims where they group up as 3 and they walk into our top side. If that is the case, then it's just extremely well exploited. If it's not, they're going to be happy they got first blood regardless, because it's 500 gold across the team and 400 beautifully sitting in the pockets of Lastis now. So the Kindred champion, who typically needs a little bit more time to get into the late game, going to be propelled a little bit faster.
Just a little bit though. It's nothing disastrous unless Kindred got a stack off that kill, in which case game's over, go next. Because sometimes did Kindred get a stack off that, Mr. Server? You can either nod or shake your head.
Waiting for the call, didn't. So
I mean that's fine though. The long sword.
So we don't FF, right?
No, we don't FF this one though.
Okay.
Not this time around. But now it's a case of Epic Avalanche needing to decide how they're going to want to get into this game a little bit, because losing an early kill onto a jungler means that gold is going to be able to move around the map, make advantages elsewhere. Badpie, this is what we might expect a little bit from this lane. Carbox is very safe in the bot side of Epic. Turbo Gandalf just turbo running down bot at the moment. VL can sit and watch while his bot lane partner dies, and I have absolutely no clue what the logic was there.
You know, I don't think there is any. There's no good answer to that question, unfortunately. Taking a hook under the turret is ill-advised in the early stages. You know, your 2v2 turret shots are going to be the leading damage in a trade like that, and now their wave is in a really rough position. I don't think there's going to be a chance to hold the freeze here, which is sort of good news for Epic Avalanche, but obviously the very bad news is that they've lost a kill on their support. Has gone over to Deferin on the Braum instead of the Jinx, which is again another bit of a silver lining behind a very, very dark, miserable, cloudy sky at the minute, because 2 kills off the bat for this team that we acknowledged wanted to be a late game scaler to sit back, and they're getting the leads early on. Not good news.
Not super pleasant, and it will allow Deferin to get towards those Anathemas chains a little bit sooner. Carwox has been marked for death. In comes Yastis, Badpie there as well, and the top laner will go down very, very easily. Yastis gonna dive. Actually, one more. Okay, that was a bit closer than maybe the Bluewhites would have liked, but the stack is gained and the Kindred gets away.
You know what? Absolute confidence. He knew what the damage was going to be like, and that is why they're playing in the tournament. And I am sat here telling them to do the wrong thing. Lastis, beautifully executed dive on the top side. Badpie opens up with the polymorph to make sure that clone can't come through till too late. And, you know, until it does come through, just by a little bit of time, but very well juggled on that turret management right there. Does get out to safety, and another kill going over to Bluewhites. A fairly sizable wave as well missed on the top side of the map for Carvox, so he's going to be feeling a little bit worse for wear. Obviously not the worst case situation, since he did have the TP to get back to lane, but it never feels good when you get dove like that.
No, it feels pretty unpleasant, and yeah, he's got a little bit of a farm lead. He's not actually falling behind in that metric to the Lulu, which is potentially a little bit surprising, but he has died twice, which is not super optimal. Both kills have gone on to the Kindred, which is also not super optimal if you're a Epic Avalanche fan. Not really an epic early game at the moment, but there's opportunities to come back. They've still got tools. They've still got decent champions. You can look around the map, and gold isn't going to be super differential and stuff like the mid lane, where the Victor's actually got a little bit of a farm lead right now. So don't turn off just yet, Epic Avalanche. There's still an opportunity.
Exactly, right? As much as we are suggesting that there could be a solo kill top lane.
Don't get solo killed by Lulu. Don't do that, Carl.
EQ,
no
EQ.
On Lulu, though. Nice dodging from Wukong. His place is at the top, and he's going to be able to walk away.
His wave's in an awful position, though, and Badpie is just going to be able to continually farm up against him here in a very safe manner, especially he's winning out on the trades as well. But to your point, though, just a little earlier on, you have to remember that this is a composition from Epic Avalanche that, whilst we say that Bluewhites are going to be somewhat outscaling, still a very real late game presence with Mirza, with VL on these respective hyper carries into the late game. Would anticipate that they can get into that stage a lot sooner if they'd have got a couple leads, but getting to the late game is still a goal for Epic Avalanche, and they do have the tools to do it.
Spotted out on a ward in the end, so does need to be a little bit careful. Badpie playing very respectfully. The ultimate coming through from Xerath, though he misses the second and won't be able to land the third, but Lastis is here. That's a very low Wukong, a pretty low Zinzao. Teleport's going to come through it. Epic Avalanche are looking to turn. They're getting onto top of Kindred. A lot of damage coming through, but there's no help from the Alcove. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but it's not in the end. It will be 2-for-1, though. Mirza is here looking to try and even this one up. Already has the shutdown onto Kindred, but won't be able to find Badpie just yet. Promo is in the neighborhood, making sure that the support Yordle is going to be safe for now. But first kill of the game for Epic Avalanche, but Bluewhites pick up 2.
Comes at the cost of a double on the top side, and once again another kill into Lastis's back pocket. Just even more stacks on stacks coming through, even more gold in his arsenal, and you can see that reflected in the difference in items. I'm a big fan of looking at how well Yones at least has adapted to the build path, right? He's down on gold versus Kindred. He knows that this is not going to be a game for Zinzao to be the big carry. Instead, immediately buys that Barmy Cinder, recognizes his role this game is to be a CC bot, to be tank, to be a nuisance, has that ability to now go for whichever mythic tank item he so desires.
Could be pretty much any direction, but I have to keep an eye on that one. The dragon being secured by Epic Avalanche, though they're not going to be contested. It's first of the game. Mountain will be it'll be okay. It's not really going to arrest the issues that they've had in terms of just being murdered across the map, really. But it's a
the
good
best
thing
of
to
the
grab.
bunch.
Yeah, you know, it's gonna be, it's not the return that you necessarily wanted on that top play, but if you're able to get it for free, it's not going to, it's not gonna be too bad, right?
No, exactly. Right, we talk about them slowing or trying to slow down the snowball. Having a little bit of extra armor NMR is the best of the lot that they could have asked for to try and deal with that, right? Having a little bit of extra damage at this stage in the game when the percentages are so low, has the same effect on the mountain, but has more of an effect on the damage because you don't imagine that EA are going to be looking for fights that they wouldn't already be winning, and Ocean Dragon, Cloud Dragon don't really have too much of a bearing on that output regardless. So hoping to see that EA can slow down the pace of this game a little bit, maybe start to try and look for numbers advantages across the map, because there is only one TP available for Pomo, and if they are able to isolate that, they might go for a mid lane play. And we're seeing a lot of shenanigans in the mid lane at present. Turbo Gandalf throwing on a couple of fancy shoes before the Flame Chompers lock him on up, but at the end of the day, no deaths go over to either side, and we just sort of sit back here. This 2k gold lead for Bluewhites can continue to grow.
And I mean, this is the thing, right? And I want to get your opinion on this, because Bluewhites, they're the team with the gold advantage. You look across their champion pool, they're super happy to go late in this game. They're super happy to take their foot off the accelerator just a little bit, because they've got the double AD carry, double support composition that's gonna absolutely rip through team fights. Kindred and Jinx both super potent in the later stages. VL needs to be a little bit careful, but there is the lantern down. Oh, he gets stunned, but it shouldn't matter too much. So this early lead is very nice for Bluewhites, but not necessarily completely required. Lastus playing Metal Gear Solid will be able to sneak into the middle bush, and now it's a case of waiting, seeing if Epic Avalanche in the bot side overextend.
This is the long play here, unless Lastus shows immediately, and which he does. Now they might just go for a dive, it looks like.
Oh, Turbo Gandalf going to be taken down, slowed and removed.
Oh my word. It's
so
really
nice. Simple as that. There's no hype, there's no fumbling, it's just clean, simple play from Bluewhites. They pick up a couple of tower plates as well, and the gold lead will balloon further.
That is incredible, and with that, Lastus does turn over 2-4 stacks, gets that increase in the range, so going to now be an even more potent threat to try and deal with. 5-1-0 with that double kill down on the bot side, not only securing gold for Desrim, plates for Desrim, but denying as such from VL, losing out on his heal. Didn't burn the flash in the end because there was nowhere to flash to, but a big wave under the turret goes begging, and now Desrim has just got a massive lead. Everywhere on Bluewhites is looking good, so long as of course he doesn't get picked off here.
And this is the thing about getting a Kindred ahead early, especially in the jungle. If you feed, or if you end up with one enemy champion that's having loads of gold, loads of items, is accelerated much further than everyone else in the game, you can kind of just play around and avoid them, right? If it's a top laner, you can kind of just avoid top lane, look to make plays elsewhere.
Yeah.
Kindred will be elsewhere. She's going to be all over the map, able to bring the advantage to whatever fight, whatever play, whatever objective Bluewhites want to play around. Rift Herald has already been secured by Epic Avalanche, so they're doing the thing where they just steal away everything they can possibly find. But unless they can invest this smartly, if they've got, a little bit of financial nous on them, then this could just be another play where Epic Avalanche don't really get anything on the return.
Oh, okay. No, you're quite right. I was anxiously waiting to see VL click that lantern, because we've seen him get stunned up once or twice prior to this. Stepping up to clear this wave out, this is the power of Infernum on Aphelios. With the Vampiric Scepter as well, we can tell that he's going toward that Immortal Shield Bow. Honestly, this game, probably one where I really wouldn't have recommended it. Would have loved to see either the Gale or the Kraken Slayer, particularly when you're so down on damage. Immortal Shield Bow is so good versus dive that you're able to, use it there, but this isn't a particularly dive-oriented composition by Bluewhites. This is one where you're going to get your shield bow procs and they can stop.
Ooh, Desrim's in a lot of trouble here, actually. Giannis will be able to get a knockup. VL picks up the kill, and that's just a simple pick. Lastus is here to make sure that the wave doesn't get shoved in too hard, but that's exactly what Epic Avalanche need to do. They need to find what they can and then get away with it. They need to be able to take a plate and not.
And they have Herald too.
Yeah, they've got Herald if they want to drop it and take first tower. This could be a huge gold injection going into the bot side for Epic Avalanche, and yeah, Bluewhites are like, yep, you can have that tower, simple as, no worries, lad, and they'll just give it up.
Hopefully we see it all committed. VL don't get overextended on.
Oh, he will get overextended on, and Lastus is very happy to take it away. It's still a lot of gold going into the pocket of Epic Avalanche, but they didn't need to give away a kill there.
And it's even more infuriating since Turbo Gandalf had the lantern down. I'm not sure if he walked out of the range, if it expired, if VL didn't click it in time, whatever it may have been. That was a very easily prevented death. And in a game where you are so far behind in the early game already, and you are just about finding the access point back into it, to then lose it all off of one simple misstep really does cost you. You can see it's just too far forward. Thresh is already around the corner, and Flash is.
Ooh.
I didn't see that the first time round because it really didn't
Yeah.
do anything. But that's just insult to injury for VL.
I don't really know what the Flash was attempting to achieve, maybe going over the wall, but was just too far away. And now we're going to check in 30 minutes, so there's still time to grab plates, but things are looking pretty good for Blue-Whites. Only 2,000 gold ahead. It feels like a lot more, just because if you look at that jungle roll, it's 1,500 right there, and Kindred has been, Lastus has been pretty spooky, moving around the map, making plays and taking names.
If he continues on that trend, I can only ever see this gold lead ballooning. Was about 1,500 between the junglers there, so going to be, again, a very, very rough matchup as we continue for Yones, and it's the Frostfire Gauntlet coming through that is the mythic of choice, not a particular... Oh dear, not going to help him here.
Lastus needs to be a little bit careful, but does have the damage. The ultimate from the Xerath. The assistance is
Just
there.
flash it.
Magpie just like, hey, I'll come help. It's going to be the kill going over to Xerath in the end, but that's fine. Easy kill coming in for Blue-Whites, and even before assistance came, it wasn't looking great for Yones on the Xin Zhao.
2 levels down. The fact that he was even able to make it that close, honestly, kind of a shout out to why AD carries don't like to go 1v1 versus bruisers, but Lastus has enough of a lead, enough mobility with Gale Force, with the dance of arrows every 3 seconds when he's inside Wolf's Frenzy, to get away to, you know, kite out the Xin Zhao nicely enough. Rewarded with not only the kill, but the red buff to boot. And now they're going to be looking to continue this little onslaught of the mid game with hopefully a mid lane tier 1 turret. They've actually not yet broken any turrets, so that's their next objective, you have to imagine. Try and break open some of these turrets, get yourself some of that standing gold, because that is a lot of economy if you can pick it up.
Of course, not with the plates, though. They've already fallen off, so not going to be able to secure that kind of investment, that kind of injection, which Epic Avalanche, even though they're pretty far behind, were able to grab in the bot lane. And without that, they'd be far and away down in pretty much every position. But Blue-Whites, as you say, they have the tools to take down these towers, especially bot lane, which isn't particularly healthy. They can pretty much take that at will, but they're not forced to. This composition is fine moving into the later stages. It doesn't need to overextend. It doesn't need to force. It doesn't really have the tools to engage unless Epic Avalanche overstep their boundaries, which is a little worrying because Epic Avalanche, they've died a lot this game, showing that they've maybe not been as respectful as they should have.
It's the toss-up between, do we need to make this play and can we make this play? Because sometimes they need to make the play, but whether they can or cannot is something that they're finding a bit of a grey area with. Time and time again, they've been caught out a little bit too much, perchance a little overextended in their ventures, and really getting punished for it. This is what we're seeing from Blue-Whites, right? As you mentioned, they've not been a team or nor a composition that has been able to make too many proactive plays. I want to counter that by saying that Lastus has done very well on the Kindred to find plays and recognize that, but as you so rightly mentioned, moving into this mid game, the onus isn't on them. They have the lead, they have the better scaling composition, and they can quite easily just turtle this one out to be a 30-minute game and start winning from there.
Bad Boy's gone, but Mercer may well follow. Lastus coming through, picks up the first kill for the fight for Blue-White. Jonas needs to be a little bit careful, just get stunned up. Here's Pomo, the Lamb's Crest will keep everyone alive as the heal is going to bomb through. Lastus needs to be very, very careful, but does go down. Everin, one more auto will take him down. This is a fight that Epic Avalanche desperately need. Nice dunk from Pomo and a little bit of poke, but it's not going to matter any further, as Epic Avalanche could actually look to maybe get a dive onto Xerath. They don't need to, though. They got the fight that they needed, and now they can push top.
Yeah, the first objective needs to be the turret here, unless Pomo presents a real threat. Then they're going to leave him be. Really strong fight out of that top side. Epic Avalanche get themselves a 3-for-1, expend a TP off of the Xerath as well, where they still have TP on, well, still had TP on Mercer. He just TP'd to the bot lane tier 2, which I'm going to throw a question mark at, because that's simply not where you should TP to, particularly when you have that advantage, but he may well find Desrim on the push just yet.
Desrim, who's 2 levels below him, actually just reveals himself with the laser, doesn't hit it, and will allow Desrim to continue pushing. I guess he's not interested in backing away, but Victor does a decent amount of damage. Can the Jinx get this tower? Yes, should be able to, and with passive, it's going to be able to sprint away. So an interesting play there from Epic Avalanche. Almost paid off, but then it didn't. And now this could be in trouble. Deferin and Lastus need to be a little careful, a little bit more respectful than they were last play, but we'll be able to back away. Dragon on the map in 3 seconds. Both teams gonna want to secure this one if they can.
This one, yeah. With all the topside priority that we saw just moments ago, no team has particular vision coverage. You did just see Lastus and Deferin do their best efforts to force some vision down in the bot side jungle of Epic Avalanche, something that is not reciprocated by the blue side team right here. Now they're already on the dragon. The reset's coming through in time for Bluewhites. They might look to fight it, but this dragon almost gone.
Lassus needs to be a little bit careful, but he's able to dive away so effectively. Dragon is still up and the damage is coming through. Destrom has to flash away as Destrom moves up the other side. Bad fight is there, keeping members alive. The poke from Zareth is pretty big. And Epic Avalanche just don't know where they want to fight. They don't know what angle they want to go at here. Carvox gets slowed, the zap goes wide, and it's 5v4 right now as Yona's going to be poked onto, going to be pushed back. Carvox gets on top of Destrom though, and will delete the Jinx. That's the kill that they desperately needed as Bluewhites now the numbers even out. The poke still flying, Bad Pie still full health as they pick up a little bit of fruit, and will
Zareth training ground right here.
Skirmish, yeah, he's going to be completely happy to chill out. Both smites available. Lassus trying to get the damage down. Decent poke coming through. Carlwalk's looking for the engage. Cannot find it, but can find a little bit of poke. Gets polymorph, gets taken low, and Yones goes down, and Bluewhites have found the opening. They've broken the seal here and will be able to push through, grab themselves the dragon, and a huge team fight win on the back.
And that's exactly what the Bluewhites composition needs to be doing here. They absorb the engage of the Wukong. They absorb the engage with the Thresh and Xin Zhao. And the second that they back away here, Bluewhites just capitalize on it. They've got Lulu for the speed boost. They've got Kindred and Xerath for the damage in that instance. Sit inside the Lamb's Respite. Nobody's going down. Nobody's getting in from EA either. A very well executed team fight right there, playing beautifully to their team strengths.
And that's the fight that we needed. We're going to have another look at this one, but it was so protracted. It looked okay for Epic Avalanche initially, but the poke was maybe just a little bit too much.
Yeah, of course, right? This is what Xerath is training his entire life for, to try and find these fights where he's absolutely fine. And we are seeing here, this is my criticism with Shield Bow, that it really didn't do anything for VL there. You know, he got himself the little shield, but then nothing particularly happened. And now the second that, this is where Desrim steps a little too far forward, actually, and we see Clone into the engage with the Cyclone. Really nice little pick. But then they look to try and reforce this one. We don't have time, as Pomo has been finding himself some nice successes. Mercer has been slain, and now the topside tier 1 almost certainly going to fall as consequence.
That's unfortunate. I can tell you how that one happened. It was Mercer was vaguely in the jungle on his own.
Yeah, he was somewhere near.
Yeah, we're gonna get confirmation. And was I right? Yeah, Mercer just
he was in river.
The jungle on his own.
Even more aggressively in the river on his own, which is an even bigger sin at this stage of the game. 20 minutes down, what would have been about 5k gold. No bueno. That's my analysis.
Not a victory royale. But Bluewhites, hey, they're having a good game. They're enjoying their gold lead, and it looks like they're not taking their foot off the gas at all. Baron's going to be on the menu pretty soon. You've got to imagine Carlwalk's in a lot of trouble, though, as Lastus not near the purple worm is in the bot side and will pick up another kill. No assist coming through from Xerath, unfortunately. Pomo not able to land the laser. Only hits a corpse. The Bluewhites, they're going to be looking at this objective sooner rather than later, surely.
You have to imagine. That is almost certainly their way to victory here. The wave clear on Epic Avalanche, surprisingly there, right? Victor has the laser. If Infernum is available for VL, another tool to wave clear the minions out and cause some issues for Bluewhites. The sort of benefit comes from their ability to poke out underneath the turret. Jinx as well, a scarily good poke champion when you're setting up at those turrets when you've got Zap. Xerath needs no introduction. So when you're looking to try and set up around those turrets, set up around those objectives, you need to be looking to our bot side carries of Pomo, of Desrim, to find some success and find some agency on those either dives, on those fights, on those turrets, because that really is when they start to come alive.
Interesting to note that Jinx has picked up second item, Phantom Dancer, rather than the Ruden's Hurricane, going for that single target damage, a little bit of survivability, as opposed to that really brutal team fighting efficiency that we've seen when you grab Ruden's Hurricane with those rockets. We'll have to see what Blue White decide to do as their next course of action. Looking to
Oh.
get some damage down mid. You sound like you've just figured something out.
I see. We have a collector on Aphelios. I see. So Aphelios got some buffs to his scaling on his E. I'll have to. Never mind. We won't have to hold it. There's a lantern there for a good reason.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
That's fine. We're all good. I'm not sure if you can check with Aphelios, but how he scaled his abilities, because I'm pretty sure it's 5 points Q, which is the AD bonus, and then 5 points into lethality, which means he's dealing near true damage to the Jinx. Watch.
Damage coming down is pretty good, but VL forced back on his own, and the ultimate will be blocked by the shield though. But it's not
Value.
again. It's not showing to be particularly valuable to this Aphelios right now.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure that Shield Bow was particularly necessary for the collector here. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely up to date on the Aphelios lethality build paths, but I'm definitely excited by the presence of a lethality Aphelios to see what can be done right there. I know there have been people in NA, particularly Arrow in Amateur right now, has been a big proponent of Aphelios in general, so probably there's a lot more input there. Maybe looking to see what third item comes through, because we still have the option here of the Infinity Edge third with 60% crit chance. Also has the ability to go for the or another lethality item as well.
Keep your eyes peeled. With the collector, you're getting a tiny bit more damage on every kill as well. Definitely not worth mentioning, but it's a feature of the item.
It is Emax second, so lethality second from the Aphelios.
Okay, so getting some damage down. Lassus needs to be careful. Has the land dress fight. Will have to pop it. Defra and they're going to be glacial fissuring and will break up the fight. But Lassus needs to be super careful. Kindred gets the kill before going down to Mercer's laser. But Desrim completely untouched on the backline. Will be able to get the stun down on to the Zinzao. But look at the backside. Look at Wukong gets the ultimate onto the two remaining members as Desrim forced to back away. Gets hit, knocked up by the second pop and will have to flash over the wall, but gets taken down before the Zap can secure the kill. And now Mercer moving forward. Can't survive. Yonez needs to be careful. Mercer gets stunned up slow. The damage, the snipe from Bomo picks up another. And actually, what looked like a really great play from Epic Avalanche. They're running away with the tail between their legs, and Bluewhites even things out.
Eye of Destruction indeed right there. Slams Mercer down with about 700 damage from that one spell. Worth remembering that Staff of Flowing Water from Bad Pie is giving Pomo extra ability, haste, and damage out of his kit. But that was still an incredible team fight going 3 for 3 here. It's Bluewhites that get themselves the tier 1 turret off the back of it, suggesting that they came out just a little bit on top. But by no means, Viperoon, is this game over. Are these fights over just yet?
Absolutely not. And Carwox has been so crucial. We talked about this before we went live, and you were like, yeah, kind of on the Carwox hype train. And I was like, oh, really? Why is that? I'm starting to see glimpses of it, able to catch out multiple members of Bluewhites on the back end, catching two, and then diving forward to get the assassination onto the Jinx. Actually, Yona's going to be starting another fight up. They managed to get another grab through. The Glacial Fissure will break up the fight once again, but Devrin goes so low, will be burnt through and dies for the first kill of the fight. Lassus needs to be careful. Desrim on the side, but can't step up too far forward. Yona is not getting sniped out this time, though, as Carwox dives into back, but will be taken out on the side. Yes, it's a death sentence, but it might just be a death sentence for Epic Avalanche as Jinx and Kindred just running through. It's a triple for the Goddess of Death, as they will be able to pick up a kill onto the Ocean Dragon on the back end. That's 5 kills for Bluewhites. One going over to Epic Avalanche. They pick up the Braum, but now Baron surely on the cards.
One measly Braum kill does not pay off the taxes of 5 members, a Dragon, plus the Baron here, Viperoon. Bluewhites come away with a massive team fight here. Just when we say that EA aren't out of the game just yet, Bluewhites batter down the hatches and say thank you very much. We will be taking our team fights from here on in, off the back of some really well-played team fighting from Desrim, from Lastis, from everybody that didn't die, essentially. Defrin did his job. They were able to sort of absorb it, and you'll be able to see here in this replay. Defrin is the focus, is the target. It's that person that Bluewhites look to try and engage onto. Lastis has enough time to get away here. Lulu providing the safety, but then Defrin absorbs so many cooldowns, and look at Pomo and Desrim on the top side of this fight. So much damage coming out from the Zerath. Lastis is able to pump out more. There's a big Jinx rocket, which just barely sneaks past Mercer to take down Yonez. And on the front side of the fight, it's pretty much already over. VL unable to pump out enough damage right there. Desrim runs through, and from there on in, it really is just a calamity for the Epic Avalanche squad. Down 10,000 gold up against the Baron or against the Soul Point right here. Now all that poke's going to come through. Now the setup at the turrets can happen for Bluewhites. Hopefully they'll be able to start taking a bit of a storm hold on this game.
If you're a Bluewhites fan, if you're an Epic Avalanche fan, you might want to see Lastus die here. He gets taken very, very low.
He did.
Ox gets the shutdown. Now going to Defrin, but the Braum is not the target you really want to go for in this situation. Gets a second knockup and will die through. Jonas won't be knocked up by the Glacial Fissure, but the Wukong will. Merza slowed up, takes a couple of tower shots, needs to be careful. The ultimate from Jinx goes through the team fight and out the other side, but Pomo picks up the kill, and now Jinx is pretty excited. Going to move forward, trying to get the damage down the Carwox. Turned into a cupcake for a second, and now Defrin needs to be careful. Desrin needs to be exceptionally careful. Pomo's over the wall, and it's going to get the damage down. It's a shutdown of the Jinx, but the Zav does pick up a kill as well. It's actually going to go Jinx the kill credit, but there's the flash forward, there's the slow, there's the damage! That's the biggest slow I've ever seen because they go down, and Merza going to be chased away. Carwox going to be able to block out the stun. Doesn't get slowed either.
Merza.
Wukong might be able to get away, but they want to try and get to the re-engage. That's a nice kill on the bad pie. Defrin needs to be careful, but Pomo's still full health, putting out tons of damage. Merza sub 100 needs to walk away. Carwox could get stunned up. A couple more autos is all it would take. Defrin needs to be careful himself, though, as Merza on the side. Can they find the snipe? No, they can't. That's a clone, as Merza gets his own laser down into the middle. Not going to be able to clear out these Baron empowered minions, but Baron empowered not for much longer as Bluewhites step away.
Again, another fight on the tip of the seesaw right here, going backwards and forwards every single time. It's Epic Avalanche that fight first and get the initial pick, but it's Bluewhites that are clapping back here, using Pomo as this poke mage to do exactly what he needs to here. Lastus falls to a nice clone Q here from Carvox and almost able to take down Defrin, but as we alluded to, isn't the target that they're supposed to be going for. And then we see just a little bit of sort of mishaps between the sort of fighting that's occurring. Here comes that Pomo ulti, crucially taking VL out of the fight before he's even able to get into it. And then there is a bit of a re-engage here attempted by Carvox, by Yonez. Do see that the Jinx falls a slightly late flash from Bad Pie, but now already another fight in the jungle.
Yeah, new fight coming through. Yonez going to be stunned up, but will be able to get a little bit further away. Not going to be slowed up by the Zap and should be able to walk to Freedom Turbo. Gandalf needs to be careful, though. Will get sniped out by the Jigsaw, who's going to get excited, going to get the reset, but not going to be able to push through any further, of course. Baron buff all but removed, and will be off every member of Bluewhites by now, but they managed to get a couple of towers. Will be able to pick up another one on the back end, and are pushing through towards these inhibitor towers. Desrim is mid, but so is VL. Defrin coming on through, and the Avalanche needs to be careful. His root up will get slowed up and will get stunned up. Damage coming through as Desrim will be excited to get away. Jonas flashing on through. Lastus is there looking for Merza, looking for the Victor as Jinx flashes away. Will be able to survive. Won't be able to get the kill onto the Zinzao though, and gets knocked up by Wukong again. Carwox is coming to his team's rescue. Can he get stunned up? Yes, he can, but Defrin is just too low. Gets bumped down. Triple kill for the monkey, and now
here
looking
comes
for Pomo,
Zinzao.
looking for the quadra. Pomo's there. Look at the damage coming on through, and yes, Zap gets away for a second, but Wukong and Zinzao, they need to be careful. Yonez goes down. Merza chases forward. Here's the ultimate. Can he find them? He misses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't hit a single shot. It can Bad Pie do better, who can say?
Nope.
But it doesn't matter. Merza, don't know about that one, buddy. Carwox trying to pick up fruit, trying to have his breakfast, but gets cut down in the morning. It's Bad Pie securing that one, and Bluewhites set up for Soul. That fight was very messy, but Bluewhites won't mind.
They will not. They also get the Ocean Soul here as their prize, and meanwhile down in the bot lane, minions were able to take an inhibitor. Whilst it looks very good for Epic Avalanche, once again we're looking at Pomo, we're looking at Bad Pie being this peel force to keep the squad alive, particularly their Pomo coming up absolutely huge. Yes, the ultis went wide, but he found crucial stuns on Merza as Merza flashed in to try and deny him the kill. Found some crucial picks as well throughout the fight, taking down Yonez single-handedly, being able to pump out all this damage up against the Zinzao that simply has no magic resistance right now. Definitely showing off the power of Xerath here with perfect kiting, perfect sort of spacing in these fights. Stands himself up to 22 stacks on the Medjais with the Rabadons in the inventory, and now a fully completed Zhonya's off of that base. He's gone full damage, but he's got exactly what he needs right now.
You know what? Pomo kind of fed.
Really? Yeah.
13. He's
little bit.
Fight. Just a tad. It was quiet because I was like, yeah, you know, Lastus dominating 14 kills, having a Maverick, and Pomo's like, hold my beer. I'm about to shoot people from off screen. And that's except with the ult, which he missed 5 times. But we don't need to talk about that one.
Hey, you can still shoot people if you don't hit them.
True. but not really what Pomo is going to be looking for.
True.
The team will look for that top tower, though, and will be able to secure it, and now can peel away towards the Baron. It's up in 15 seconds, and Epic Avalanche can't really afford to give this away, but also can't really afford to fight for it.
This is, again, another one of Xerath's sort of strengths here. Teams running into him when he's got complete vision control and the enemy has none. You just watch Pomo. As soon as EA try to step anywhere near this pit, he's even playing on the backside as well, knows his range is perfect. The Baron's already gone here, Viperu. They're too late to try and contest this. Their prize is a mid-tier 1, potentially, but at this late stage in the game, who cares?
Ooh, getting the snipes down. Carl's in the bush. I don't know if they know he's there. Pomo needs to be a little bit careful. The rest of the team's gone bot there. They want to try and force this one through. Backs are being burnt. You can see the recalls on your mini-map, and actually teleport coming through from Pomo. I think they might want to try and take this last fight and end this as he joins up with the rest of the team. There goes the first inhibitor. They're going to look for a second, but Carl's is there looking for the flank. Is there a minion wave? There is one top, but they're going to look for the dive onto Giannis. They need to be a little bit careful as Bad Fight is the target. Desgrim on the back needs to watch out for the monkey. The damage coming through is big. The Glacial Fissure does very, very little, and actually Defra needs to be careful here. Bluewhites need to be a little bit respectful as they try and get the snipe, try and get the poke, but doing so in the base is a little bit more difficult.
Giannis
will burn down. One more shot is all it takes, and VL now they're going to be the target, going to take a decent amount of damage. Lamb's Bite has been burned as the poke comes down. The inhibitor, the Nexus towers, both below half health, and Colts looking for the engage, gets on the Pomo, gets on the Defra, but that's all it's going to take as Wukong is deleted. Murder is deleted. VL needs to try and get resets, gets damage down, dodges the abilities and gets a double, but it doesn't matter. Pomo is massive. Pomo will carry, and Bluewhites pick up the first win of this best of 3 series.
1-0 Bluewhites there, and a deserved victory for Pomo in the mid lane. 12-0 and 15 in the end of it all. Ocean Soul for Bluewhites, Baron for Bluewhites. Everything they needed from the early game comes out huge in the late game. Our emphasis on this late game team fighting, scaling composition comes to fruition. And a Xerath with 25 stacks that never really felt threatened is going to be devastating in any kind of game.
It was just rough, because Bluewhites got the early advantage that we mentioned in Champion Select. Look, this team needs the enemy to engage into them. They are not capable of engaging themselves really, unless they get super fed, which is, you know, Lastus did that, blah, blah, blah. But then they were just able to get to every objective first, every key formation position first. And it's like, Epic Avalanche, you either turn up and we kill you, and we saw that at most Dragons, we saw that at the Baron, or we get the objective for free, which was the second Baron, which was the final play, because they were like, we can't take this fight, but if we don't take this fight, we just lose anyway. We slowly bleed out. So going into game 2, Rudy, we're going to ask you this before the break, before you have a time to actually think about it. What do Epic Avalanche need to do differently?
Well, they need to they need to recognize compositions, I feel like, here, because they drafted perfectly into what the Blue White squad wanted to do. Blue Whites had already established with Kindred Lulu fairly early on. They were a disengaged team, right? They were going to be sitting back and poking, and you have two options there. You either hard commit and try and force onto the disengaged team with better engaged. Zinzao Thresh isn't your greatest tool with Wukong as well. But I think that if they either do that one and they go for something like Malphite On and they really put sort of slam CC down their throats before they're even able to use their abilities, or they sit back and they say, hey, we'll take you our own poke game. Let's go Ezreal, J Zoe, see what happens there, because we can pick you off before you get to use Lamb's Respite via another mean. So, you know, the key here is the draft. It came all the way down to that. And yes, Lastus in the early stages was incredibly influential to start off that lead for them. But in the team fights in the late game, if you'd have put those two at even gold, even though they weren't, it would have still been the same story.
I mean, that's the wrong answer. The correct answer was actually Panterath. I'm afraid
true.
That was
my apologies.
But we'll give you a little bit of time to think about what you've done. We're going to jump to a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be the second game. Epic Avalanche need to win this one to keep their fates in their own hands. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.